Hey, this is Ralph, and I want to finish working on this JavaScript web page here. Remember, we're making sliders on a web page so that we can dynamically change the background color of that web page. So far, I've already got these sliders created using the input type range element. And then we've got some variables. We've got several variables which are going to get the values from those sliders, and then I have a few more variables which are going to be in charge of getting the converted versions of those decimal values. Basically, we're taking the decimal value from the slider and we're converting it into a hexadecimal code. And we've got that for each of red, green, and blue, and we'll join these all together. Okay, so next order of business here in my script, inside of my function, I'm going to, I'm going to create a variable that concatenates all the parts. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in a variable hex code. Now my hex code is going to be pretty easy to put together now. My hex code is simply going to be a pound plus my red hex value, RD hex, plus my green hex value, plus my blue hex value. There we go. So that's pretty easy. So my hex code is simply a combination of a pound sign, red hexadecimal, green hexadecimal, blue hexadecimal. This makes the complete hexadecimal code for any particular color. Alright, so I've got that taken care of. Now it's simply a matter of changing the color. So, change the background color. And for this one, I'm going to use document. Okay, that's my web overall page. The body of that page, the style of the body, the background color, and that's going to be equal to my hex code. Okay, so the background color of the page is going to be equivalent to the variable hex code. My variable hex code is equivalent to a pound sign, a red hex, green hex, and blue hex. My red hex, green hex, and blue hex are the hexadecimal versions of my red, green, and blue values. My red, green, and blue values are simply the values determined from the sliders. Okay? Now, the script is pretty much complete. There's one more thing I'm going to do, but I'll do that last. So this is looking pretty good here so far. Just put a little semicolon just to be consistent there. Finish that statement. Now we got to call this function. This function is called change background. So I'm going to scroll back down to my HTML, and then for each of these I'm going to put in onChange equals change background. Basically, I want to call the function whenever the value changes for my slider, and I'm going to do this for each of them. So I'll just do a copy, paste, and paste. So when any of these three sliders change, it's going to affect the background. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and save, jump back over to my Chrome browser, refresh. Okay, there's a change over to red. That's pretty slick. There's a change over to green. That's looking good. And there's our change to blue. That's looking nice. And of course we can do combinations. There's some green mixed with a little blue, makes a nice kind of teal color. Throw in some red, makes a nice rosy color, a little more green. There we go. Tans. There's a yellow background. Alright, so that part's working there. One more thing I'd like to take care of. I think it'd be kind of nice if we displayed what the hex code is as the person is changing it. So I'm going to jump back over to my web page, and let's see, I will do this. What's a good spot for it? How about if we just do an H2 right up here, and I'll call this ID equals hex display. So I've got this H2 right after my H1 called hex display. Let me go up to my style section real quick. H2, and I'm going to do a background color of black. And for the text, I'll use a light gray. And I'm also going to do text align center. Okay. And actually, since I am going to start off in black, I might as well put in some default here. So I'll do #000000. So if I look at this on the web page now, there we go. So my hex code will display right up there. But when I change the color, I want to see that hex code change. So that's ID hex display. I'll jump back over to my script area. And in addition to changing the background color, I'm also going to document get element. Oops, got to spell that properly. Get element by ID hex display. And that is going to be the inner HTML hex code. Okay, so basically my hex code value is going to be inserted into the HTML of the element with ID hex display. So I'll save this, head back over to my Chrome browser, refresh, and as I adjust my slider, we can see that hex code value getting updated. There we go. And if I want to ensure these are all uppercase, no problem. I'll just do that with my styles. Text transform, uppercase. Let's try this again. There we go. So now we can see the letters are uppercase. There we go. A little bit of green and blue. All right. So now we've got sliders that change our background colors. Hexadecimal code is displaying. All right, we're all set. Now you've probably seen some of those fancy websites where they do color scheme choosers and stuff like that. So we could probably carry this over. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there's some math formula that, you know, if you pick a particular set of colors, there's a complementary color and opposite colors and stuff like that. And if you calculate that math, then you could actually be changing the various colors of, let's say, several boxes. And that way a person can get a whole color scheme based on the one color that they pick. So have fun.